Hello YouTube and people of the interwebs. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm joined by a very, very special guest. It's Jonny Mathers. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jonny Mathers. I'm a 7'2" artiste apparently now, and I play Passenger in Doctor Who Flux.
So Passenger, for those of you who are unaware, which if you've been watching the new series, you definitely should know, is this guy seen on screen now. He's the sort of, how would you describe him? Kind of like a bodyguard to Swarm and Azure?
Good question.
Yeah.
It was sold to me as a bodyguard, a heavy, the group protector.
No, unless you want to upset Passenger here, take 5 steps to your left.
But I think, as if anybody who's watched episode 3, that role significantly changes. I wasn't really aware of where Passenger was going as a character, and maybe it's better if I explain it from the start. So do you want me to go from there?
Yeah,
and how
just jump straight into it. Yeah.
A long time ago, tried to get into an acting role and it didn't work out, and I ended up in another acting role, which meant I was on a stage, and I thought that was kind of like the end. That was it, and great. And then last year, someone tagged me, a mutual friend tagged me in a post on Facebook from Creative Casting, saying they were looking for a man who was over 6'10".
Yeah.
Big build, kind of imposing looking. So I looked at the advert and I just went, okay, I'll. It was a WhatsApp, so I'll WhatsApp him, and I went, I don't think he'll want me. I'm 7'2", lol. And then I got a message back, just like saying, no, can you send us pictures? Who are you? What are you? So I gave them all my details, sent them a couple of pictures, and they were like, oh, that's great. We're going to send them to the director. I said, okay. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea.
Because Doctor Who has like a very secretive policy with the new series, especially under the Chibnall era. Like, were you allowed to tell anyone? Like, could your family know, or was it all top secret?
Well, it was a little bit. So I'm new to this.
Yeah.
No experience of this is my first ever role in a television program, and obviously, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to say what you are and what you're in. So I quite excitedly told the wife I'd applied for someone and they were interested in me, but we didn't know what it was at the time. And it wasn't until like it became an actual this is going to happen that it was kind of mentioned you can't tell anyone. And by that point I was like, oh, I've told a couple of people, but it wasn't like I've said I'm going to be in Doctor Who. It was just like I'm going to be on the telly. Creative Casting said, can you send us a video of you walking? And I was like, oh, okay. So
it's a bit of a strange request to start off with.
It was a bit odd, a bit odd. And so they sent me aside. Person walks in, imposing, looks around. So I did this walk. The wife filmed me on my phone, walking towards the camera, doing the look, and sent it off. And they're like, "Oh, it's brilliant, fantastic, thanks very much. We'll let you know."
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So I just thought, well, it's not happening. And then the next thing, I had a message off Creative saying they're really interested in you for the role. It's going to be for 2 days. And I said, okay, I can do 2 days. That's fine. I've got a full-time job, but I can get out of work for 2 days, no problem. And it was really interesting because the next phone call I got was, right, you've just got to say yes.
Wow.
So what am I saying yes to? And they were like, you've got to say yes. Why? They really like you. They like the size thing. So you've got to say yes because they want to make you a named part. And they went, this never happens with our essays. They've decided they're going to make you a named part, but they need you for a whole week. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's just that kind of moment of like, what is this? What am I signing up for? Do I say yeah? Do I say no? And then I was like, you know what? I've got to do it. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll work it out with work. And work have been fantastic. So if they ever watch this, they are ace. They've sorted me out. They've really supported me through this.
Yeah.
And And they went, okay, well, you're going to be passenger on Doctor Who. I went, great. What's a passenger?
Yeah,
And they went, we
that
don't
was
know.
a question that we were all asking that question. I mean, I think you mentioned it before. You saw one of my early videos discussing these pictures.
Chonky Boy. Was it Chonky Boy you called me? Chonky Boy.
It was
/ possibly returning alien we've seen on filming is this absolute unit of a man. This chonky boy was spotted in... Chonky boy. I genuinely just said that. This bloke was spotted on the filming in Liverpool with John Bishop.
So March of this year was when I was in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And we were filming a scene in Liverpool, which was on episode 3. And I got there to the the set, which was outside Liverpool Cathedral, and there was, I don't know, 100 Who fans,
Yeah.
real dedicated, standing outside there. It was cold, but they were determined. They ain't going nowhere. And John Bishop and Nadia were sat on the step rehearsing their lines, and they asked me to come and walk out and just stand next to the camera where they were going to do the shot from.
Yeah.
So I'm walking out, and I'm in the trousers, because I've got out of the car. No one's taking a blind look at me, like they're looking for Jodie and Mandip and people.
Yeah.
And then 2 security guards come and stand next to me, and I was like, "You all right?" Like, yeah. And I think they honestly thought I was working on the security side of things. I think they were thought I was coming to take them over, because they were like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah." On this site, so I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm just rehearsing," and they went, "What?" I said, "Well, I'm in this shot," and they went, "Oh, you part of the cast?" I was like, "Yeah."
Oh.
So no one knew who I was.
I suppose, especially with the mask, no one would be able to tell. I remember seeing those pictures and being thoroughly intrigued as to because I think the costume's got a very classic Doctor Who in the modern day style to it. And
being there and doing this, the whole feel of this to me was very Tom Baker era kind of thing. It just felt like, even filming it. And I know I had experience of filming, but I've got experience in film backgrounds, and it just had that kind of general feel. But that day on Liverpool set, when I went and put the costume on, and then I walked out of the tent, the cameras just all started going, and it was 10 minutes later, one of the crew were like, "You're on Twitter." It's like, "Oh, am I?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're on Twitter." I was like, "Okay." So, but so I got the part, and then it was like, "Right, you're gonna have to come, COVID test." Fit in, another COVID test, another fit in, and there's a lot of to and fro-ing. And then I did my first week of filming, and that's got to be one of the best and bizarrest experiences of my life.
What was your first day on set? Which scene was it?
So my first day on set was Temple of Atropos, and it took me a while to learn how to pronounce that word as well. I got onto set, and I had a very nice member of the team who was helping me dress, and they set me up at one side, and I just sort of walk into this giant temple. I was like, wow, this is it's a huge set. It was huge.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got introduced to Mandip and Jacob, just kind of real casually, "Oh, this is Mandip, this is Jacob," and I'm like, "Oh my God, you're a Grey Worm. Oh my God."
How were they meeting them?
Amazing. I mean, literally, Mandip and Jacob, they're great people to work with, and they're really friendly. And that first day on set, I was set slightly away from them, and Mandip was like, "No, come and sit with us. Don't sit over there on your own. Come and sit with us." And that was great, because I've never done this before. And then the next 2 people I met was Rashenda and Sam, but they were in full makeup. So these 2 walk in the dressing gowns, before they put their full costumes on, and these full head things. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
So I knew I was part of a trio, but obviously I'd seen my costume, but I hadn't seen theirs.
Yeah.
And it just seemed really different. But it was a cool time to be stood there and be like, "Oh my God, I'm actually on a set now. It's real now. It's not like."
Yeah. I bet you're glad that you didn't have to have the intensive prosthetics that the other 2 had, because I've read some interviews, and apparently they had to sit there for 6 hours each every day.
They were in makeup at 4 a.m. every day. I casually roll onto set at 7:30, and they'd be I'd walk past the costume department and the makeup traders and stuff, and I'd already see they'd be there They're on like their second
Yeah,
cup of
fully
coffee,
make
like,
up.
and yeah, fully made up. But I think it was like 4 hours for the prosthetics to get them on. So pretty
Yeah,
pretty
pretty
hefty.
intense.
And I know they were quite heavy because they're all silicon, so they were pretty heavy things. But
You've had an interest in sci-fi for quite some time, haven't you?
just a bit.
Yeah.
I'm 42, and I think sci-fi's been a massive part of my life. And some people will be aware, and some people won't. But in 2013 time, I tried to get on to Star Wars Episode 7. And that was again because of a casting advert saying they wanted someone who was 7'2", 3-ish. They didn't describe the role, but it was pretty obvious they were looking for some kind of Wookiee. And my mum and dad phoned me up and they were like, "You should go for it." I was like, "I ain't gonna get on a Star Wars." And then the wife was sat next to me and she was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Oh, they're looking for someone for Star Wars. I think it's Chewbacca." And within like 10 minutes, I had a request to join a Facebook group called "Get Johnny into Star Wars Episode 7," which had been made by the wife, and it just went like off. Like overnight, I think in 24 hours, I had like 1,000 likes.
Wow.
And then that next day, we had a phone call from the Metro newspaper, and they were like, "We want to publish your story. We think it's really great." And I'm like, "I haven't got in. I'm not in there." And they were like, "Oh no, we'll run the story." I was like, "Okay." And then so that story was run, and then it was picked up by the BBC, and then it was picked up by the local papers, and it just sort of started to spiral. Apparently, I was on some like America Tonight program, but I was never asked. But apparently, a picture of me shot up, and it just kind of went on from there. But unfortunately, even though I was in the process of getting in touch with the right people, and the casting directors were aware of me, a local radio station, I think, put a bit too much pressure on trying to find out information, and it kind of messed it up a little bit for me. But so then it was just kind of, let's see what else I can get into, and I tried quite a lot of stuff. I mean, sci-fi is a big thing in my life, and I'm quite proud to say I'm a nerd. I'm happy to say I'm a nerd. It's a positive thing in our house, and I think it's something that you should embrace because people embrace sports, people embrace different activities and stuff. Embrace being a nerd, and I'm a sci-fi nerd. Star Wars has been a massive thing in my life. All like, Transformers, things like that was always a big thing as a kid. Even Doctor Who, because like Tom Baker was like my thing in Doctor Who. I loved that.
So have you been watching Doctor Who for years as well?
So I kind of had a break from it. I think growing up and stuff, and you kind of like lose track. And the Sylvester McCoy kind of era was like, as I was heading into my teens, and it just wasn't really as appealing, I think. I really got back into it a bit again when they did the reboot, that was kind of interesting. And then I fell out of love with it again a little bit. I don't know why. I think it was just, work, stuff, family, everything else. You just kind of don't have the time to pick up on stuff like that. Obviously, when Jodie came in, I was really interested in that because it was just totally different. So
it was like a soft reboot of the show, really.
And to work on it was just like, what better thing can you be working on than a program that's been running for, over half a century and still has a massive fan base. And I think that's the thing for me, because I'm a fan of sci-fi. I really get the fact that the Whovians really love this stuff. It doesn't matter how big or small it is, they love it just as intensely. And I think I've started to realise that in the last couple of weeks since I've been on on TV.
You've stamped your mark like indefinitely in the sci-fi world now. You'll probably be able to go to Comic Cons and stuff for years to come.
I'd like to hope so. I'm also doing a bit of cosplay. So I cosplay Kratos from God of War with my partner in crime, Opalink cosplay, Abby. And we did the Wales Comic Con in Telford in 2019. And we got a really good response from that. Even from like some of the guests there were like calling us over to the table to look at our cosplay because they loved it. But Wales Comic Con is a massive Doctor Who con, really. It's just
I was at that one in 2019, so we might have crossed paths somehow.
But, I'm a 7'2" undead Spartan, so if you didn't spot me, there's something wrong. But that con was really great because the amount of people that are just really into Who, And most of the guests at that con that year were Who
Yeah, there was like
cast
David
members.
Tennant
It
and
was,
Matt Smith, I think.
so fingers crossed, maybe a few cons.
Sounds good.
We'll see.
So another thing that must have been like a bit mental was meeting, like you've briefly touched on it, but meeting with like John Bishop, Jodie Whittaker, Joe Martin, Mandip Gill, because your character of like Passenger has been present in scenes with all the current big names in the Doctor Who universe.
Yeah.
The Passenger is a long forbidden form.
So, unfortunately, I didn't meet Joe Martin, which would have been cool because I thought the Fugitive Doctor storyline in the other series was great. So it was the second day on set. I met John Bishop and Jodie Whittaker, but I didn't know John Bishop was going to be there. So Jodie walks onto set and she's like, "Hey," and "Hi," and "Nice to meet you." And then I noticed behind her was John Bishop. And it was
must
just
have been
like,
quite a surreal experience.
yeah, I was like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "All right." I was like, "Yeah, nice to meet you." And I'm like, "Hello, you're John Bishop." It was a bit like, "Why are you here?" "Oh,
Yeah.
you're on Who as well." "Okay." And we went straight into like filming of those scenes, and it was pretty like intense with, you know, all of us were on set. There was always like, there was a lot of action to film, and we had to, you know, keep going over bits and going over bits, and it's filmed from different angles.
Yeah. How much of the script were you allowed to see in advance of the episode? Because I know a lot of Doctor Who nowadays, because it's all top secret, they keep bits out.
Tiny.
Yeah.
So I would get a side, as they call it in the biz now. I know I would have said script. You get a side. I got a side in the morning when I'm out on set. So my understanding was that the only real people that knew where the story was going was the main cast, the three main cast.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of changes happened. So I'll give you an example. I knew about my bit to a point. I didn't even know really what I was or what I was there for at first until like a couple of days later. But I knew nothing about the Battle of Sontarans.
Yeah.
I only knew about the Weeping Angels because it was in the paper that they'd been spotted filming down in Barry Island. Me watching it now, I'm starting, like even me watching it, and I was filming it. I'm going, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Now
you're
I know
able
where
to
that's
piece
come
together
from.
all the bits of story.
Yeah. So it was really top secret. It was really like close to the chest, and I think that was a good thing because a lot's going on. You know, and it was pretty intense filming, and everybody worked really, really hard on the bits that they were in. You know, so and they had to cram so much in such a short space of time. A pace to it that
schedule,
you know,
to
we
keep
have to get this done. Yeah.
Because obviously this series 13 was all shot during a pandemic. Like, how did that change stuff for the actors and just being on set environment? Like, did it cause any problems at any point?
I wouldn't say it caused any problems. They've got a really good team. So they had their own team of like testers and medics.
Yeah.
There was really strict rulings about wearing masks on set, apart from when the cast were filming. There was really strict rules about social distancing. There was COVID tests every week. It was all, you know, really well regulated. And I think they worked around a lot of those problems really well by rethinking how they were going to do the shots and where they were going to do the shots. So I mean, like most series of Who, from my understanding, have been all over the country and sometimes abroad and things like that. They couldn't do that. They couldn't travel. You know, I had to have a letter to go over the bridge to say I was working. So you know, it was kind of like,
because
you know,
it was in
really,
the height of the pandemic, wasn't it? Like February, March, April time.
I joined the program I got the part in October. I started the COVID testing and the fittings and stuff in November, and I was filming in December, and it ran through till pretty much, from my understanding, right up until like the very, very end. Because I mean, even parts of like where the story was going, like I didn't know there was going to be 3 specials. All that kind of stuff was kept very closed off. So, which isn't a bad thing, because I think they were trying to do something a bit special this time. So
are you? I don't. If you're not allowed to say, don't worry. But can you tell us how much more of Passenger we can expect to see?
Your guess is as good as mine right now. I know what I filmed.
Yeah.
But I don't know where it fits
Mm.
because, like I said, the story kind of is some of the
Yeah.
story's new to me. So I didn't even know until Sunday night that Vinda has a partner. No one
Yeah.
mentioned that, and I was sat on set with Jacob for 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
don't know, can't say.
Fair enough. Do you think
You have to wait
possibly
and see.
in the future, like maybe in the Russell T Davies era, would you be open for coming back if you were ever asked?
I have told them, like, straight down the line, I'll do anything on that
Yeah.
show. And the reason why I'll do anything on that show is because it was just such a great experience. It was just so much fun. We had such a
Yeah.
good time. When you get an opportunity like that, you want to make the most of it. And I just want to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was there long enough, and I was there for like 4 weeks, like with not like solid weeks, but a couple of solid shoot weeks, and then bits and pieces going backwards and forwards. So
Yeah. I think
yeah, I'd
especially
love to go back.
from a member of the public's view of this team and this cast, it seems like one of the most tight knit, happy, like great working environments that Doctor Who's ever had. Like when I watch the show, I do get the sense that the cast and the crew, there's no like problems or tension behind the scenes. They all
There's
seem
no
really
divide.
nice. Yeah.
No, there's no divide. The cast and the crew are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it all feels like one big happy unit, and I found it really interesting because I come from an animation background, so that's what I did at university. I did animation and filmmaking, and I make props for theatre, currently. So I do work on a lot of local amateur dramatics productions and make stuff.
Yeah.
So to go and work with them and if I asked a question about how they were doing the lighting, they'd explain it to me.
Yeah.
And new industry stuff they were showing me, and then I got to hold the sonic screwdriver,
Oh,
which is a bit exciting.
iconic. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I was allowed to, but I did. And the crew and the cast have got such a good relationship.
Yeah.
It's just all one like really tight knit working team, but almost like a family because they all support each other,
Yeah.
and that's what I really liked as well.
Yeah, it sounds like an absolutely amazing thing to have experienced. Now, one of the things that me and my friend were having like a mini debate about while watching episode 3, the scene in the Temple of Atropos, like the flashback, so from Joe Martin's perspective, that bit where there's loads of different passengers stood in different parts in the room. How was that achieved? Were you on like a green screen, or
what's the thought process? Where did you get to? What's the two ideas? I'd like to know.
My friend assumed that you were just green screened in, but I was thinking maybe it was more like they locked off the camera and then got you to stand in the different places, then blended them all together in After Effects.
I'd probably the best way to describe it is a bit of both. My part in that was quite simple to film. Actually, it wasn't like it was
yeah.
But it was a certain amount of like timing of shots, and passenger doesn't necessarily always move very quickly, as you might have noticed.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of head turning in time, so judging like spatial awareness of when like characters passed and things like that. So that was quite not awkward to film, but it was just like we got to do that, and then you got to get the timing right. So when all the passengers see the Doctor or whoever walking past at the same point, they all turn at the same time. But it's all me. There's no cut out. Someone asked me the other day if it's cut out, so I was like, no, it's not cut out. It's all me. No. And then someone said, when you did that scene, was there like short people on stilts in like replica costumes? I was like, no, it's all.
Yeah.
There's only one passenger, Yeah,
because I thought it was blended together really well. Because me and my friend, we were genuinely like, we could not figure out how the effect was achieved. But yeah. You said you didn't get to work with Jo Martin. Was she green screened into that scene as well?
I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm guessing she must have been, because I never got to meet her. I wasn't always aware of people that were on set. Craig Parkinson, who plays Grand Serpent, I never worked with him, but he was in the trailer next to me. So I only knew he was there because I walked out to get a coffee, and I was like, oh my God, hello, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. One of the funniest stories of my experience on Who was, obviously, I said I met Sam and Rashenda on the first day.
Mm.
And I'd met Sam 2 days before when we'd gone for a COVID test, and we walked past each other in a corridor, and he was wearing a hat and a mask, and I was wearing a mask, and he was like, "Oh, you must be passenger."
Yeah.
And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "Oh, I'm Swarm." And I went, "Oh, nice to meet you." But like,
Yeah.
you know, didn't see
Yeah.
faces.
Yeah.
And then when I first met them on set, they're both in their full get-up. And then it was only like on the third day, they were talking about something, and it suddenly clicked that Rashenda was from Line of Duty. And I just finished watching that season of Line of Duty, and I had a bit of a fanboy moment. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, you're great in that. Oh, that's right." And then Sam was like talking about something else another day. And I was like, "Oh God, I just feel like an idiot now, because I've sat with you guys talking for a couple of days, chatting about all this stuff and life and roles and then I've just been sat next to two people that I think are really good in the, you know, in the roles that they've done, and just was like, I feel like a right Wally, you know, but you just don't know who.
Yeah, no,
who's
because
there.
especially
So,
like with the prosthetics, I had no idea until I like, because they released some promo images of the actors, but when they've got the prosthetics on, I have absolutely no clue. Like it just,
no,
they're really impressive, this series as well.
when you're up close to them, the detail on them was just fantastic, and like, you know, the crystals and stuff and everything, you know, you wouldn't think. I mean, I genuinely thought they'd stuck crystals into that mask. And they're not. It's just part of the molding. It's just the way they've managed to paint it up. It just looks amazing. And when they've got all the teeth in and the contacts and everything else, it just completely changes them. And you just think, wow, that's impressive. But I know that, you know, those prosthetics are quite heavy, so it must have been like having an extra head on your head kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, the mask that you wear, was it difficult to see out of? Because like there's a lot of bits where like you three go down the stairs, and I was thinking from like a behind the scenes point of view, I was almost on the edge of my seat of like, how good is their visibility right now? Because it's that moment in episode 2 where the three of you like ominously walk down the staircase with when the music swells. How much could you see out of that mask?
Minimal. I'd say I could. So the problem with the mask is it's a slight. I mean, people have put it on Twitter, and you must have seen it. You know, this is what happens when you buy your monster on Wish. You know, and all this kind of stuff. So they got the mask. I tried it on, and it was like, yeah, it's great. And then obviously they went away and did a bit of work on it just to, you know, get rid of some of the mold lines and you know, the studs were put into it. But what they did was, because the eyes are like a mesh, they put another mesh behind it so you couldn't see my eyes.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you got a mesh and then you put another mesh over it, my visibility was like reduced by about 50%. And then the way the mask sits, you can't basically see under this part of your nose. I couldn't see my feet. So a lot of the time I was judging. I mean, the stairs, I'm not going to lie, the stairs were a bit difficult because I've got size 18 feet, and the steps were only traditional size steps. So, you know, my feet on steps ain't good. So my feet on steps when I can't see my feet is not so good either. So there's a couple of moments where you see passenger just slightly nod his head, and that's because I was just checking where I was going. But but in general, I could see everybody. It wasn't like I was completely blind, but it wasn't the best visibility. You know, I'm kind of glad I had some visibility, because at one point I was a bit concerned I wouldn't have any. You know,
that would have not been good.
No, that wouldn't have gone down so well. Inside it was really hot. I mean, like, intensely warm is the only way to describe it. And there was a couple of times I get a bit sweaty, so there was a couple of times where I was like, I could feel it coming down my face. So we started putting bits of blue roll in the mask just to stop me being blind. And it was really warm. It wasn't so bad when we were in Liverpool in the cold. It was quite cozy. That was all right. But on the set, it was a bit warm.
I think that pretty much concludes it. Unless, have you got any more funny stories or any upcoming previews that you could give us, maybe?
Oh, I can't give it away. I can't.
And
I think even what I did, I don't know where this story's going. I mean, it's I think one of the things about this that I found the most fun is the fact that now watching it, as you know, just me watching it, and apart from the fact that it's interesting to watch yourself back on the telly, because
Yeah.
I was there and I know what it looked like, and seeing it on the telly, I'm like, wow, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that looks completely different. You know, even Swarm and Azure's faces look totally different on the screen than they did in person, and they just look even better. So that was really interesting. But the fun part for me was I just don't know where this is going, because I wasn't told. So I've done my bit. I kind of know where I go. I don't know how that works into this story, and so it's really fun. But like funny things on set, there was some funny things on set, but I can't tell you. Maybe another time. Maybe another time.
We'll have to come back and do a
Come
follow-up
back.
interview.
We'll have another conversation. But I just want to say though one thing. Your videos have been hilarious. Like watching it, trying to work out who I was. I was a chonky boy, you know, and like other videos as well, like coming up with stuff. So it's been really interesting, like everyone's theories about what I am. Am I Omega? Am I this? Am I, you know, it's like
the amount of times I've put in a title, has Omega returned?
And I've just been sat there going, no, you're so far away, so far away.
Yeah.
But so that's been kind of fun, and I think the only other thing that I found really interesting is just general Who fans' reactions. So obviously locally where I live, people have started to find out that it's me, and I literally had some guy yesterday. I went to pick someone up, and they were just stood there like that. I was like, "You all right?" And he's like, "You're a passenger." It's like, "Yeah, I am." And he went, "This is amazing." He's just like completely like, just can't control his emotions. I was like, "It's fine. I'm just a bloke. I was wearing a mask. It's cool." And he's like, "But you're a passenger. You like touched Jodie Whittaker." I was like, yes, I did. And it's all right. And he's like, "Oh, it's just," so people have really are passionate about it, and that's what I love. So hopefully I'll see a bit more of that. Maybe if I get to a couple of cons and stuff, we'll see how it goes.
It sounds good. And we'll definitely have to do a follow-up interview after Series 13.
We'll do another one. Yeah, I think you might want to, just because I want to, because I don't even know what's happening at the moment. So
my interest is piqued as to where we will see Passenger go in the upcoming episodes.
Episode 3 was like, even filming episode 3 for me was a bit of an eye-opener, because it was like, you know, you're going to do this. And I was like, I'm going to do what? They're going to come out of me? And he went, yeah. So, you know, I was like, they're going to come out of you, and I was like, okay, how do we film that? And they were like, just kind of arch your back and jiggle a little. There was like a lot of me like in front of a crew doing this. Yeah. Which sounds a bit silly.
Without the visual effects, it must be quite difficult for everyone on set to keep a straight face.
I'd love to get the reels. Yeah, I'd love to get the reels without the effects, just to see how daft I looked doing the jiggling like that. But you know, we'll see.
But yeah, thank you very much for being here today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And
you too.
Do you want to plug any of your social medias for people who watch this video to go and follow?
So my Twitter account is Jonny/Jono, the Bald Sasquatch 73. That's where I've been basically posting a lot of Who stuff. And then I've also got an Instagram account, which is Bald Sasquatch _ DAT did a thing, which I kind of created just to separate my real life and this life.
I'll put all the links on screen and in the description to make
stick them on there. I mean, there's still the Get Johnny in Star Wars episode 7 if you want to really link to that. But
we'll kick off the campaign. We need new Star Wars movies with Johnny in. I'd love a Star Wars movie. Star Wars for Johnny in the comments.
Don't. It'd be a dream. I mean, me in a Wookiee costume would be, but then again though, me in anything in Star Wars I'd take. You know. Yeah. I'd be a walking dustbin if I could get away with it, to be honest with you. I'd be a gonk droid. So it's all good.
Let's hope one day you can get into Star Wars.
One day.
Anyway, that does truly wrap up today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, just knocked over my keyboard. Thank you very much for watching. And goodbye.
Don't forget to click below.
Subscribe to the confused Adipose.